Today I'm going to share with you what it's like to be a photographer in Mashatu Nature Reserve in Botswana. And the reason I want to come to this reserve right here is because I believe this has got the highest photographic hit rate of any other place in Africa for wildlife photographers. So what we're going to do is go on one game drive and see what we find as we traverse the reserve to photograph in one afternoon. So it's a journey of discovery that I want you to come and share with me. It's unscripted, and we're going to head out into the reserve to photograph wildlife. My name is Shem Compion. I'm a professional wildlife photographer that has been photographing across Africa and the world for the last 20 years. I'm going to be on vehicle this afternoon photographing, but I'm going to be with my co-pilot, Joe Masika, who today is going to be driving. If you want to see more content, and some of it's going to come from Joe in the future, please subscribe to our channel so you receive the notification. So, when you head out on drive, the fundamentals of good wildlife photography have remained the same for the last 100 years. You need some specific gear that is going to help you do your job well. And the first thing I pack is a sturdy, good pair of binoculars. These things come in handy in ways you will never ever imagine. The second is the trusty old beanbag, the most underrated piece of photographic equipment ever. They absorb vibrations and allows you to get much sharper photographs. So a beanbag is a must wherever you go. And then of course the vehicle you're in. And today we're in the Photo Mashatu vehicle, which is a dedicated photographic vehicle. And this vehicle is, I think, one of the best you can get as a photographer. You've got these adjustable seat posts here. So I'm sitting in business class. There's only 4 seats here, so I've got lots of leg room in front of me, and same for the people behind. But these are adjustable, they're padded, and that of course helps you when you've got a beanbag on there and I can get to the right height for my camera. It's got this footwell in the front, which allows me to photograph out the front and the sides of the vehicle. It's got a padded little mattress to get low down on it, and that gets that eye level view. It's got these lovely boxes. They're sealed. You open them up, you put all my extra photographic gear and equipment inside, but also it's padded on the inside. So my gear is safe, protected from the dust, and I've only got what my essentials are. So now as a team we can head out, focus on what we want to do well, and not worry about any of peripherals or things holding us back. It's just, let's get out and go and photograph.
If you look on our right, there's a king of the jungle. He's resting there, close to a source of water. I guess you figure this will be his resting place for today. Water is not very far, he can drink and then just go back to sleep again. Photographically,
we've just arrived, so we haven't really assessed the situation, but I'm assessing as I'm talking. Is you can see it's quite rocky behind here, and it's impossible for a vehicle to get up close to him there. We actually are quite close to him, but he's got his bum towards us, so that doesn't really help us on a photographic scale. But I think what we do, Joe, is why don't we just pull up over to the right there, see if we can cut the angle off, and we'll get 90 degrees, a different angle on him. And you can see we've moved around, got a much better angle. We don't have the bum shot anymore, now we've just got the paw shot. We've got that 90-degree angle on him, and doesn't look like he's doing much. You can see that heavy, labored breathing on the stomach. And if you look at these rocks all around here right now, we're not going to be able to get a vehicle anywhere close to him without disturbing him. And we don't want to disturb him, and we don't want to break our vehicle. So that speaks to the vagaries of wildlife photography. We've got no control over our sightings and the lighting and the areas, the landscape upon which we drive. And so we think we've got a great subject, which we do, great subject, king of the jungle, like Joe says, hey? But here we are sitting and going, we wish we could get a bit closer. We have to, in this moment, wait for another day. Okay, so Joe just pointed out, in the same pond, we've got a line just behind us over here. We've got a pied kingfisher. Here he is. It's a female flying right above us, and now it's hovering up against the sky. So birds in flight, very, very difficult. But a pied kingfisher is really cool because when it hovers, it stays dead still. The sky behind is bright, bright white. So I'm going to overexpose, but probably 1.3. What's important is to make sure the pied kingfisher as a subject is exposed correctly, and the sky behind it's going to go completely white. So what's really nice about this is that the sky is really bright and the pied kingfisher is black and white. So it's going to play off beautifully. It's going to blow out the sky completely, and then I'm going to have a black and white subject. So those all will speak very nicely again to each other. I've set my shutter speed 3,200th of a second. That's like really, really fast for me anyway. And it's to make sure that every part of him is frozen and captures the motion and the movement perfectly. Once I've got those shots, I will then maybe experiment a bit more and see if I can slow the shutter speed down somewhat in order to get the blurriness in the wings perhaps. There's multiple options that we can try here. Freezing the subject, blurring the wings, and then the third one could be, again, a very fast shutter speed, and that is when it would be diving into the water. Magic. Oh, so right as I'm doing this, I'm ramping my shutter speed right down to a slow shutter speed and going at 100th of a second. You can see this. See how still it holds its head. Unbelievable. And look at the tracking. As I'm photographing this, watch the tracking on the camera, how it tracks the bird. So I'm using 3D tracking. There we go. Now it's got the riverbank in the background, so I drop my exposure very quickly. There we go. And now it's so steady. I'm putting my shutter speed up slightly. Look at that. Nailing a whole lot of shots. Now I'm going to go really fast again. Open up my aperture, and I'm even being able to compose while I'm framing that shot. And that's amazing. That's technology for you. I'm using 3D tracking there. It locks onto the bird, and I'm able to then compose the bird while I'm taking the photographs. I put the bird in the top left-hand corner, had all the space down below and to the side of it. I love photographing like that, and that technology allows me to do that. But now, in that very short space of time, we sat and waited for 5 minutes. In that very short space of time, I just managed to get very high shutter speed shots up against the white sky, then transferred right down to a slow shutter speed, as we saw, and then got some with the riverbank in the background. So 3 different types of shots, all in the matter of about 1 minute. So, I mean, that was a really productive little session. We put in a little bit of time, just waited patiently, and hopefully we get the rewards. There's a lion that's just popped up over there.
A female lion.
So we can see that she's lying just above the actual riverbed itself, so about 3 feet up. She's facing in this direction. She's sleeping, but it means that if we drive up parallel to her, give her some nice respectable space for her to be comfortable in, it means that if I photograph from the low angle of the vehicle here, my camera will be eye level with her. And using a lens like this, which is a zoom lens, a super zoom, 180 to 600, I can then get in really tight. And if she opens up her eyes, the camera should theoretically be looking straight into her eyes, and she'll be looking bearing down, right down the barrel. So that's what the imagination says, and what the wildlife photographer in me wants to achieve and wants to get. We've got an open canvas in terms of there's no vegetation, there's no sticks, there's no grass, so that's really helpful for us. So I'm really excited. Plus, as I mentioned before, we've got light cloud cover, which is giving us really diffused light. So everything's in our favor. We've got to get into position, and we don't want to rouse her, we don't want to bias her behavior at all. So we're going to keep a respectable distance, and then let's see what we're going to get. So I'm going to get into position. I'm going to use just my beanbag. I'm going to put it down here on the floor, staying low within the profile of the vehicle, and I'm going to get see if we can get a nice low shot here of this cat. The first thing we want to make sure of is that we're exposing correctly. I'm still on a very plus 2.3 from photographing the pied kingfisher. So we want to bring the exposure back in line. I'm actually going to keep it at plus 0.7. I'm going to zoom in nicely now onto her head. Okay, so if she had to open her eyes right now, we'd get a really nice strong shot looking directly down the barrel. But notice what's behind her head. This dodgy white branch is growing out of her head. And white's such an amazing color. It attracts the eye, it draws the eye away. So we're going to have to reposition. By moving the vehicle 15 yards, the power, the precision, the alertness of this lioness right now, she is so focused, super predator-like. she's just focused on those wildebeest. She's watching them. They still haven't moved very far, but look at that focus. I'm going to overexpose slightly, almost by one stop now with the brightness up. I'm going as tight as I can on the face, because I want you to see the intensity, every single eyelash, the eye looking forward, the focus, the ears forward. That's what this animal is designed to do. It's a hunter, it's a predator, and when it locks onto a subject, it's got narrow tunnel vision onto what it wants to do. So that's what I want to convey right now, is the power, the poise, and the focus that a lioness can have. It's very simple right now with 3D tracking to, oh, she's giving us a view right now. Yeah. And a wildebeest moves and then she looks away. Back onto them. Yeah. The 3D tracking is really nice in these situations. There's no grass, there's no distractions to take away from it. So it locks onto the eye of the subject and then allows you to then recompose very, very freely. And that's just, I mean, that really is magic from a compositional point of view. I can go in as far as I want. I'm going to also just zoom back a few millimeters to include the whole lioness. Well, that breaks up the composition quite a bit. Watch how check how she's getting really coiled up. She's really getting alert to these wildebeest there, watching them. But that's really helped in the composition now, because just before that, her leg was out on the side of the frame. Now it's coiled up, her head's looking back into the frame. I can zoom in a little bit there, get the focus locked onto the eye, and again she's like locking in. So you've just seen there that the wildebeest have seen her, they've given up the game, the tails are wagging, they're all facing in the different directions, so they live for another day, and so we're going to move on. I got pretty excited there right now. I even took my binoculars off. I was like, I'm going to get into position to make sure I'm ready for this. And she gave us a great pose, a great like striking eye level shot. So we'll go on and see what else we can find. We've got a nice little colony of white-fronted bee-eaters, and these are brilliantly colorful birds, so they photograph remarkably well. All the bee-eaters do. All the bee-eaters are very stunning family of birds. And this is a breeding colony here. There's about 100 holes there, and they've just started excavating. So it's very busy, very active. However, it's on the dark side of the light. So it's very dark in there right now. If we're going to photograph in there, we're going to get very grainy, high ISO photographs of these birds. And the simple solution is come back at a different time when the light is better, because they're going to be there, they're going to be excavating and using this colony a lot more. So on another day, when the sun is shining, and probably late afternoon or mid-morning, when they're very active. Mid-morning is when they are very active. A lot of insects are out there, they're flying and catching insects. Plus I can see lots of whitewash on the banks, and that means they're using specific perches just above those. So I'd focus on those perches, and that's when you're going to get really strong, great photographs of these birds. Right now it's very dark, and so unfortunately for now we're going to pass over. So miraculously, as Mashatu likes to produce, the sky's cleared up, and there's still a lot of cloud array, but it's right on the horizon right now. We've got golden light, and when we saw that there was nice golden light, we moved out of the river, which is darker, there's deep shadows in there, to take advantage of this golden light and what it could potentially offer us. And as we're driving out in the open here, Joe just picked up that there's 4 giraffe out here, and they're all staring off into one direction. So we're just going to follow up on that. So we've just picked up those giraffe, point us towards 3 cheetah. It looks like 3 cheetah. Now the sun is right on the horizon. If you look at the screen here, look at that. Okay. And you'll see straight away you get this beautiful rim lighting effect here. That's just me locking on. Now I'm going to check my settings. I'm going to jump up to f8. I'm shooting into the lights. I'm getting a lot of sunlight into the camera, so I can therefore improve my aperture. Get a couple of grab shots here. I want it in profile. Oh, look at that, in profile. Just as we say that, I'm going to drop my exposure down to 0, and that's going to put the brightness down completely, and then take a whole series of shots of this cheetah looking to the foreground like that. Oh, that is absolute magic. This is, I mean, when the sun is on the horizon, we call it the golden hour, but this is when the magic happens with photography, and I'm really excited right now. I'm photographing into the sun, so we're throwing caution to the wind from an exposure point of view. The nice dark background just behind that cheetah is creating the rim light to stand out really strongly against that dark background, and that's really what makes this image. It's a silhouette, but all the detail of the whiskers, the hair on the edge of the ears, the back of the nape, and so on, are what's making this a really, really magical shot. I'm really, really excited about this. When I focus here, focus can be very tricky because focus relies on contrast, and there's very little contrast. So I make sure that the contrast is on the edge. Oh, it's standing up, the frame. There we go. See how it struggled there for a second, and there we go. Now we're getting the profile up against the sun. I can even underexpose a bit more. I'm going to zoom out a bit. Got the sun right behind this cheetah. It's looking back. Obviously something caught its attention. I'm shooting at 1,000th of a second. There you go. Just to make sure I'm freezing any motion. Look at this lovely detail. Now I can zoom in a bit more. Lovely detail in the frame, creating a bit of mystery. So that's a blurred foreground from these bushes in the foreground here. That's on the right hand side, creating a little bit of mystery. What is that? And look how I'm framing again, bright behind. And I'm composing now again. Now I should change positions. I'm looking at this, and I keep changing my composition to accommodate how the subject is looking. This is really what makes our dreams come true. It's the things that we type of dream of as photographers, is that we really want great light and a great subject. And when they come together, when light and circumstance come together, that's when wildlife photography is just like the ultimate dream to do. So this is that exact moment. If I zoom out, you'll notice I don't get any contrast or any detail below the body. I could up the exposure quite a bit like this, but then we lose the beautiful magical effect of the actual the silhouette, the strong silhouette and the rich golden color. So the sun is just touching behind the horizon there, just touching on the horizon and just dipping now. So in a couple of minutes, this effect will be gone. It's a few moments in the day, and I mean, we started off with this cat sitting down and lying down, and now it's up. The magic has happened, and we capture it here. Very, very special moment that we're witnessing here. Now I'm actually, as the sun is dropping down, I'm dropping my exposure even more. So now drop down to -0.7, and look how the cheetah's just gone under. And you notice that the rim light effect has changed dramatically because there's no actual sun on the cheetah anymore. So effectively, the shot is over. I can still try and milk the scene if you like, but the magic happened 2 minutes ago, and wow, what a wonderful end to the day. And actually I'm going to end it right there because we've had a male lion sleeping, we had the kingfisher diving into the pond, and we got the nice flying shots, and then we got the lion sleeping, flat cat, we had the bee eaters, and we ended up on the open plains out here with a cheetah in the golden light. So I want to thank you for joining me on this little journey. This has been 3.5 hours of amazing discovery journey. We went out with open hearts and open minds, and look what nature revealed to us.